Okay, in today's video, we're going to talk fuse boxes. As you can see, I've got the front bedroom lights working, and those are going to be on a circuit of their own. Well, all the lighting will be. And then I've also, of course, got the lifters for the camper working, and that's on its own circuit. But I'm starting to get to the point where I'm going to have more than one circuit I want to be testing and playing with at the same time. So I thought it was time to create a control panel or a fuse box where I could have the centrally wired DC circuits. It's interesting because finding good-looking DC fuse panels can either be extremely expensive or, frankly, just impossible to find. And since everything in my camper is really bespoke, then size also matters. It has to also fit into some unusual spaces that I've made. So, you know, initially I only need about 6 circuits at most. Initially I was thinking, well, I'll just get one of these Blue Sea circuit boxes, which I really like Blue Sea stuff. They make high quality equipment for boats and campers. So I got this one, but I didn't know how I was going to mount it. I was looking at it, I didn't want to actually have it look like, I didn't want you to have to see that just didn't want to. I thought I could mount it under a cabinet or something like that, but I didn't really want to hide it in such a way that it was hard to get to or hard for somebody else to find. So I thought I'll just make a fuse box. And one of the beautiful things about 3D printing is you can do that kind of stuff. So today I printed up, well, actually the last couple days, 3 pieces of PETG carbon fiber. Actually, these are part carbon fiber. This one's just PETG. And the way this is going to work is I'm going to put in my trusty old threaded inserts. Those are going to go in here so I can actually use bolts to bolt the fuse box into. And I've made some wire relief holders here, which you'll see for bringing the big 10 gauge wire into this. And then it also has open space on either side for me to bring the circuits that are wired in the wall right into this particular circuit board. Then this will go on here, and actually this will all be mounted together before I mount it into the actual camper. And this fits perfectly in a space that I have right behind the seats in my dining room area. So I'll have a cushion up against this most of the time, but if I need to get to the circuits or the fuses, pull the cushion off, you know, and open up the fuse box and get right at the fuses themselves to check them. So today, simple enough, I'm going to go ahead and get this put together. I'm going to sink these little threaded inserts in place and screw it all together. And then we'll put it into place in the camper shell and get it wired up and see how it works. Should be a fairly straightforward and simple day. But I am looking forward to it. Each of these little things makes me feel like I'm a little bit further in the progress of the camper. And this really is a kind of a journey of 1,000 steps, but I'm maybe 200-300 steps along the way. So as always, the main thing I'm trying to do here is just kind of grow the channel so people can enjoy what the process is I'm doing it. The only way that happens is if you like and you subscribe. I always put in some not drilled, but pre-printed holes, just so I know that I have them in the right place. I could make them slightly larger, but I also find if I make them too large, then I don't get enough plastic melted around the bolt or the nut, and they come out too easily. Let's see, I think these 16 millimeters will do in length. Let's see. All right, so there's the fuse box. Right here is where the threaded nuts for these guys are going to go. So they're going to sit like this right here. Just like, make sure I did this right. Oh. Aha. Okay, that's the right way. Perfect. Good. I made it with smaller holes here and larger holes here, so I wouldn't do it upside down, because this sort of has a, I mean, it's not, wouldn't matter, works the same way, but a right side up to it. So that worked out. So now, and I believe that's all the M5s I'm going to put in. So I'm going to turn this off and let it cool for now, because I need to change the tip so I can put in some really small 6/32 threaded inserts for the thumbnails. I like to keep everything metric, but I happen to have these really pretty aluminum thumb screws, and they happen to be 6/32. So I went ahead and ordered some, and I'm going to go ahead and use those. Shouldn't be a big deal, especially since they're thumb screws. I don't need to actually have a screwdriver in that fits them. So what we're going to do is put those in right here. Now, meanwhile, before I go and mount this box like this, I think I'm going to go ahead and put in the number 10 wire that I'm going to be using, because actually it will be easier for me to get it all sorted like this before I put this on. The little wires that come into the fuse box, those will be no big deal to get at from this direction, but I kind of thought it might be nicer to just get the big wires on since I have full access to it like this. I've got this 10 gauge black and red flexible silicone wire, which is what I use throughout the camper. It feeds easier. It tends to be much more impervious to vibration and stuff like that. So basically, we're going to start by wiring up our black and red wires to here. But in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and put actual poles on them or hoops, and I solder everything. I am not a crimper. I just feel like I'm better off if I'm soldering it. So we'll do that right now. By the way, I'm using 10 gauge because it really, I want to be able to run up to 30 amps on this total. The fridge is the biggest thing, and it doesn't even pull all that much. But, you know, I want to make sure I've got enough for everything to pull without overloading the wire. And you can certainly get away with 30 amps at 4 feet, which is what we're pretty much going to be running this wire at. In typical me fashion, I had to go and make an easy job hard. I didn't have any 10 gauge eyes that were for soldering, only these ones for crimping and heat shrinking. And so I went ahead and took the heat shrink off of them. I'll do a little combo crimp and solder. And, you know, some people might say just crimp it and be done with it. And if I were good at crimping, that would be a great idea. I'm not good at crimping, and in spite of having tried multiple times to master my crimping technique, I have not done so. Got a good crimper, use the right crimp bits, follow the instructions on the internet, and I just can't get the art of crimping down to where I feel like it's as strong as a soldered connection. Theoretically, if you crimp right and you really cram the crimp together with the wire, you have a connection that's very, very solid. But once again, I know that if I've got a crimp and a solder, that I'm going to be golden. I meant to do that. And before you go saying, well, there's your problem, you are not using the proper crimp tools. You're right. For this, I can get a nice solid crimp with my pliers, and then when I come back and solder it, it's going to be more than strong enough for what I need. Typical amateur mistake. I did not put heat shrink on the wire before I crimped it, but luckily I have some big heat shrink that I think, and it's 4-to-1. Yes, I'll be able to get this over and come back. There we go. This will work fine. All right, I saw the solder get sucked right into the groove in the wire right there, so maybe a little more right here. There we go. All right, that I know is a good solder. There we go, it's wicking in. All right. So once again, I know those are good solder joints. Sorry, I lied. It's 3-to-1 heat shrink. That still would be plenty enough shrinkage to get a nice tight seal on these. I also use the heat shrink tubing with glue in it. So the glue actually melts as you shrink the tube, and it actually causes, you know, a much better seal, basically a waterproof seal up the heat shrink. I'm going to leave it on the spool on this end for now so that I can have it as long as I need it when I go to put it into the camper itself. I probably should come back with a little torque wrench I've got, but I think we're okay on this. Now, I get to show you what these are for. I'm a big fan of zip ties, and I'm a big fan of strain relief. Anytime I can do some strain relief on a wire system where I know that it's not going to be pulling on something delicate, I will most definitely do that. And this will definitely help with that. Maybe some tension on this side, but I can prevent there from being too much tension on the fuse box itself. There we go. So, wires are on. Next thing is going to be to put this together. This is down. Okay. Here. We'll put a little bit of thread locker in on these things. These are the kinds of things I don't really want jiggling loose on me. They won't be easily exposed or easily, I mean, I can get to them easy enough, but why not add a little security to these things? All right, we are almost there. Now this is cooled, so I can take this tip out, which is too big for these little 6/32 threaded inserts. Still have 2 lights on that, so we should be okay for finishing the job since I only have 4 more inserts to get done. Those are going to go right in here, here, and here. There we go. All right, let's give this a try. Sometimes I try to make things a little too perfect, so I've just enlarged these holes a little bit so I have a little more flexibility with placing the thumb screws in, and that did it. All right, I can live with that. So we got a fuse box. Now we're going to put it in place and see how it looks. And just like that, custom fuse box. So that I can get to easy enough by just taking away this cushion. And accessing my fuses. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now let's get it all hooked up and be ready to go. Stick around for more stuff.